You wake up 500 years in the future. The pen is cheap. That is the one detail your mind will cling to. Even 5 centuries from now, a simple black gel pen, plastic, the kind you accidentally slip into your pocket at a bank teller's desk without a second thought. It rests on a heavy steel clipboard in a waiting room that smells faintly of wet umbrellas and stale ozone. Across the desk, a woman with tired green eyes and a silver name tag that reads Clara slides the clipboard toward you. Her movement is practiced, almost mechanical, as if she has watched 1,000 hands reach for that very pen. You flip through the heavy stack of paper with the frantic desperation of someone running out of time, searching only for the single word that promises survival. The aggressive cancer in your stomach has been slowly hollow carving your life for 9 agonizing months. Now you are here. Clara tells you to take your time. You don't. You skip straight to the signature page. Just behind her desk, a heavy door is left open by a mere inch. Through that tiny gap, you catch a fleeting glimpse of another desk, another clipboard. Someone else is sitting in that room. Clara notices your gaze, pauses for a fraction of a second, then quietly gets up to close the door without offering an explanation. 50 pages, she says softly, returning to her seat. Please read it. You don't. Your hand is trembling as you press the black ink into the paper, and at the exact moment your pen finishes the final stroke of your signature, you hear the faint, muffled scratch of a second pen finishing its own line behind that closed door. You don't think anything of it. You won't think of it for another 500 years. The voice that guides you into the dark is surprisingly warm, an older man. He tells you that you will feel a sudden chill, followed by a wave of heat, and then nothing. You close your eyes. The cold arrives first, sharp and absolute, then the warmth, then a blinding, soft light. Your body feels entirely different. The persistent, burning ache in your chest is gone. The metallic, chemical taste that has coated your tongue for the last year of medical treatments has vanished. When you command your hand to lift, it obeys instantly, free of the tremors of decay. Your skin is smooth. Your veins look young and healthy. A face hovers into your field of vision. You made it, she says. She recites the year, and your brain utterly rejects the numbers for a few terrifying seconds before your tears finally break. She doesn't look surprised. She has witnessed this exact reaction before. Her name is Asha, and she is your transition guide. Asha gently explains that you have been asleep for exactly 500 years. You are one of only 41 individuals preserved in the year 2026 who successfully survived the revival process. The others did not make it. She leads you to a massive floor-to-ceiling window and shows you the world you now inherit. Before you lies a city that looks less built and more grown. Vast, elegant spires sway gently in the breeze, constructed from bioluminescent, self-healing materials. The streets below are winding green gardens, vibrant with colors your eyes have never adjusted to interpret. The air carries no scent at all. It is the pristine, untouched air of a world that has completely forgotten pollution. And above the gardens, silent vehicles glide through the sky. They don't roar or zip. They drift smoothly along invisible, multi-layered highways woven into the atmosphere. You watch a vessel touch down on a nearby spire without making a single sound. 500 years. You begin to weep again, overwhelmed by the sheer impossible beauty of it. The first week passes in an exquisite blur. You wear fabrics that instinctively mold to your body's shape. You sleep in a room where the walls glow a comforting, warm amber whenever you wish it. You spend days riding the silent transport vehicles, falling asleep each night wrapped in profound gratitude. The first fracture in this paradise is incredibly small. Asha is guiding you through a grand botanical reserve when she suggests a pause. She pulls 2 simple containers from her bag and hands you one. You open it to find cinnamon sugar toast, buttered precisely to the edges, with the crusts neatly cut off. You freeze. You have never told Asha or anyone else in this new era about your preferences For the past 6 days, you have eaten strange, unrecognizable dishes provided by the facility. This toast is different. This is exactly how your grandmother used to prepare it for you when you were a child. It is a highly specific, deeply personal memory, one that was never written down in any public record. Asha is already eating, seemingly oblivious to your shock. You slowly eat the toast and choose to say nothing. The second fracture is far larger. During a walk, you ask Asha how humanity finally conquered cancer. Her voice remains bright, launching into a detailed explanation involving dates, medical institutions, and genetic restructuring. But midway through her explanation, her speech patterns skip. It isn't a pause for breath. It is a jarring, unnatural jump from one sentence to another, as if a vital paragraph of information had been abruptly edited out of her mind. You nod, smile, and murmur your amazement. But that night, you lie awake, staring at the amber ceiling for hours. The following morning, you ask to visit the public archives. Asha beams with pride, assuring you that all knowledge in this era is completely transparent. She seats you at a sleek terminal in the Grand Library and leaves you to explore. You search your own name first. You find a brief clinical obituary from the mid-21st century. Next, you search the Cryonics Corporation that preserved you. They filed for bankruptcy in the year 2078. Their physical and digital assets were sold off at a massive public auction. You follow the paper trail. The buyer was a private research consortium called Aethelgard Dynamics. You search for Aethelgard. The records show the consortium was abruptly dissolved in 2189, but where the explanation should be, the text cuts off. There is only a fragmented sentence, a digital redaction marker, and a notice stating that the remaining archives have been sealed by High Court decree. In a world of absolute transparency, these files are locked away. You type in a phrase you noticed in the auction inventory, Subject 14. A single document loads. It is a highly redacted scientific paper from the year 2154. The abstract references a test subject labeled 14. The duration of the research spans from 2089 to 2151. You log off, return to your beautiful amber-lit room, and tell Asha that the archives were fascinating, but you do not rest. Late that night, you slip out of your room. Under the pretense of losing your way to the dining hall, you venture down a restricted service corridor. The walls here are cold, dark, and utilitarian. Standing near an unmarked door at the end of the hall, as if he had been expecting you, is a thin, white-haired man. He wears the uniform of a maintenance technician, but his eyes are sharp, and his right earlobe is completely missing. He speaks your name. You freeze. "You've been looking for Subject 14, he whispers, gesturing to the dim room behind him. "You'll find the truth eventually. With or without my help, come inside. You only get one chance to see this." The room is cluttered with obsolete, flickering monitors. He taps a cracked glass screen with his finger. A document loads. It is your original cryonics contract, page 36, subsection F, he says. "Read it." You scan the dense legal jargon. Your breath catches. The clause states that by signing, you consented to the unlimited use of your preserved biological material and scanned neural data for ongoing comparative cognitive research throughout the duration of your preservation. It gave the company the legal right to thaw, scan, replicate, simulate, and re-preserve your consciousness. It explicitly declared that any digital duplicate of your mind was the sole property of the corporation. You read it 3 times before the horrific scale of the words sinks in. The old man looks away. "We have records of 408, he says, quietly. Your knees give way, and you sink to the floor. He explains the history in a hollow voice. When the cryonics company collapsed, Aethelgard Dynamics bought the rights to your body and your neural scans. Using that overlooked legal loophole, they began running endless, high-fidelity simulations of your mind. For over a century, copies of your consciousness were spun up in simulated realities. Some copies existed for mere hours. Others lived for decades. Some were placed in simulated peaceful lives to test psychological endurance, only to be abruptly deleted when the researchers gathered their data. They lived full lives, the man says, from childhood to old age. There are copies of you that lived to 84. There are copies of you that died in simulated childhood. They had distinct memories, favorite songs, and deep attachments. And when the experiment concluded, someone simply pressed a delete key. He looks down at you. The medical breakthroughs, the neural mapping, the technology that allows the people of this city to live forever, it was all built on the backs of the cryo-sleepers. The ones who didn't read the fine print. In 2189, when the new government discovered what had been done, banned the practice, and sealed the records to prevent public outrage, 41 of us who remained physically intact were revived, given beautiful rooms, and promised a paradise. But they hid the cost of that paradise. You ask him who he is. I am one of the 41, he says. I woke up 15 years ago. I had a guide, a perfect room, a flying car, and then I found this corridor. The person who stood here before me showed me the truth. Now I am passing it to you. He taps the screen again, bringing up a second contract. It is identical to yours, signed on the exact same day, at the exact same hour, in the neighboring room. The name on the signature line is Evelyn. The researchers worked with matched pairs, the old man explains. Every simulation run on you was mirrored with her. For every life one of your digital copies lived, a copy of Evelyn lived right beside you. The second pen you heard through the door, that was her. You managed to find your voice. Is she alive? He nods. She woke up 2 years ago, but something went wrong during her final integration. A technical glitch caused the memories of several long-running simulations to bleed into her physical mind. She woke up remembering lives she never physically lived, and a face she had never seen in the real world. Your face. She has been waiting for you. It takes 4 days. 4 days of pretending to be the most compliant, grateful patient Asha has ever managed. 4 days of retiring early, smiling, and keeping your rising panic entirely hidden. On the third night, the old man slips you a piece of paper containing an address and a path through the city's unmonitored maintenance tunnels. On the fourth night, you dress in the simple clothes you wore when you died in 2026, and you slip out into the quiet city. You navigate 11 silent blocks until you reach a modest residential structure with a faded green door. You knock. The woman who opens the door appears to be in her mid-40s. The moment her eyes meet yours, a shock of profound recognition crosses her face. You have never met her, yet her features feel impossibly familiar. She steps aside to let you in. You stand in her quiet kitchen, the silence heavy between you. She quietly prepares tea and slides a warm cup across the table to you, a gesture that mirrors the way Clara slid the contract across the desk 5 centuries ago. Evelyn sits down and looks at you. We have a lot to discuss, she says. She speaks for hours, detailing the fragments of lives that haunt her sleep. She remembers a small rustic cottage with worn wooden floors and a single willow tree in the yard. In that simulation, she lived alongside you for 46 years. She remembers the quiet routine of their mornings, the simple dog they owned, the way the light fell across the kitchen table. I know it wasn't real, she whispers. I know the cottage was just code. The dog was an algorithm, and our entire life was a controlled variable in a laboratory experiment. But knowing that doesn't make the grief any less real. She tells you of other, darker fragments, waking up in sterile white voids, being subjected to cognitive stress tests, and experiencing the sudden, terrifying sensation of her consciousness being deactivated. The sealed records still exist, Evelyn says, her expression hardening. They are stored on a physical server 4 levels beneath the recovery facility. The old man has the access codes. We can copy them. We can upload every file, every experiment log, and every redacted document directly into the public network. We can force this city to see the ghosts their utopia is built upon. You look at her across the table. This stranger who has loved you, suffered with you, and died with you in 100 different digital heavens and hells. Tomorrow, she says, if you are ready. You walk back to the recovery facility under the cover of darkness. The city around you is breathtakingly beautiful, but now you see the invisible toll of its perfection. You return to your amber-lit room, lie down, and stare at the ceiling. You think of the 408 versions of yourself that were created, utilized, and discarded. You think of the versions of Evelyn who stood by your side in worlds that vanished at the touch of a button. And you think of the citizens of this era, people who will never know the agony of terminal disease, whose children will live long, healthy lives, walking through pristine gardens under a sky of silent, gliding cars. Were those copies truly just data? Or were they real people who felt joy, sorrow, and love, only to be erased when their utility expired? Exposing the truth won't bring those lost lives back. It will only shatter the peace of a perfect world. But staying silent means accepting a lie, living a comfortable life paid for by the unimaginable suffering of your own forgotten selves. You think of the cheap black pen, the smell of rain and ozone, and your trembling hand on page 36. You think of the second pen scratching behind the door. Tomorrow, you can shatter the illusion, or you can let the amber room be enough. You close your eyes, but sleep does not come.